So I've been posting about this on Facebook and Instagram, but I haven't posted to YouTube, and I felt that I should do that now just to give people an update so that they don't feel out of the loop. And yeah, but just to jump right into it, over the last month and a bit, Pogo, my mom's horse, the gray horse that is featured on my channel, Banksy's best friend, Milo's best friend, he's been having some health issues. It started back in March when we noticed that he was parking out and like with his front legs way forward and his hinds back like way splayed out. And that wasn't normal for him, and he'd also been laying down more often than usual before that. So we called the vet out, and when the vet came out, she did a rectal ultrasound and found that he had a massive rectal hematoma, presumably from passing some type of foreign body or an enterolith, which is basically like where sediment builds up in the gut and it creates almost like a rock. And then he would have strained to poop something like that out and then created massive hematoma as a result. And it created a lot of tearing in his rectum, and that put him at a high infection risk, and it was very concerning. Luckily, we caught it before he got an impaction colic, because since it was so painful to poop, he was holding in poo. But he's been on antibiotics for the last over a month, and he has been home this whole time until last Friday. And he was doing very, very well on the antibiotics. We got his first recheck done, and the healing wasn't what we had hoped it would be on that ultrasound. So then he had to stay on his diet of soaked hay cubes only. He hasn't been able to have hay this whole time. So when he was home, he had to be separated from his friends, which was rough. But we did like a shared fence line so that him and Milo could touch noses and groom each other over the fence line and still be together. And then Pogo could have this structured diet. But anyways, the first recheck, which was a few weeks ago now, there wasn't the change and healing that we were hoping for. He was actually like pooping out digestive lining, like dead tissue that had died and been damaged from whatever caused the hematoma. And overall, he was doing pretty well clinically because he wasn't getting infected. He had no signs of fever, and the antibiotics were working. And then last week on Friday, when my mom went to give him his breakfast feeding, she noticed that he hadn't finished all of his dinner from the night before, and she was concerned. So then I took his temperature, and he had a fever. So then I called the vet, and then on Friday I took him into the clinic for in-clinic treatment because a fever is really bad. This is a really high infection risk, and with the digestive system in particular, they can go septic really quickly and get like a whole abdominal infection. So that was a really heavy concern. Luckily, when he went into the clinic and we examined him, there was no abdominal fluid and there was no abdominal infection. However, when they looked at him on ultrasound again, there wasn't the healing that we would like to see. And then there was also concern that there could be a digestive tear in the digestive lining. And depending on the grade of that tear, the prognosis can be really, really poor. If it's a grade 4 tear, which is through all of the layers of digestive tissue, it's a very poor prognosis. And it was basically like, if it was that, we would have been euthanizing. Luckily, upon second opinion, they found that it was another rectal abscess because the hematoma caused one abscess, which had healed. And then now there was another one. So he has a rectal abscess, and he's been getting treated with IV antibiotics since Friday. He's off of the IV antibiotics now and getting them intramuscularly, but we did another recheck today, and the abscess is not healing in the way that they had hoped. And then they did a blood test to test for infection levels, which is called an SAA test, and his levels they'd risen again instead of going down and trending downward, which is what you would hope if the antibiotics are working. So now we're at a point where we need to get an opinion from a specialist, which will hopefully happen within the next day or two. But I don't really know what's going to happen. I am hoping that this is something that can be treated with antibiotics. I'm hoping that they might be able to like lance the abscess, and that it'll be something where once that's dealt with, that the antibiotics will work and he'll be infection free. But I really don't know what we're looking at, and I wanted people to know because this might be a situation where we do have to end up euthanizing him, unfortunately. And this has been pretty hard for me to share because we kind of went through something similar with George, and those of you who don't know, George is Pogo's half brother, and he died 5 years ago. And it was a similar thing where we had a lot of dedicated vet treatment in the month before he died, and then he just crashed, and it was a really bad outcome. So I'm hoping, for my mom's sake, for the horse's sake, because the herd has been really destabilized since he left. He's like a central figure in the herd because Milo and Banksy are so close with him, and they have not been the same since he left. It's messed up the herd dynamic. They're all really sad. And then also where I'm coming from with this is that, like, if we don't end up being able to treat this ethically, I feel awful about the last month of life that he has had, because he's been taken away from his friends or not been able to live with his friends in the same way. He's had to go on this diet of soaked cubes and has had his life like uprooted in a way that is naturally going to be stressful. And if that's like what his final experience has to be, I feel really bad about that. And I'm really hoping that's not the case, because he's also super young, just like George was. Like, George was 5 when he died, and Pogo's supposed to be turning 8 in May. And anyways, I'm really hoping that we'll get good news. So if everyone could just keep him in your thoughts, that would be much appreciated. I don't like waiting in kind of the in-between, not knowing how things are going. Clinically right now, he's stable and he's still eating and doing well, and he doesn't have a fever and he's not crashing, but it's a situation where it's like, we need to get this under control. Otherwise, it's going to be a massive problem. So I'm hoping that we're going to get good news, because it's been really, really demoralizing to have recheck after recheck not show what we were hoping it would. And it's really hard on me on a daily basis, because, like, especially when he first left, I could hear the horses from my house and I could hear Milo calling for him all night. And I know that they miss him so much, and I just really want to have him back. So anyways, that's an update. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry for crying. I want to just post this anyways, because I feel like being real online is important, and this is how I'm actually feeling, and I don't want to just, like, do an edited video where I'm putting on a face for social media and not feeling how I'm actually feeling. So I wanted to be real, but it does suck. And I'll let you know how it goes. My mom's been having a really hard time because she does not want to lose Pogo either, obviously. But it's just been hard for all of us. And it's like life goes on despite all of this stuff happening too. So it's just hard because, like, I'm so exhausted because I have to still go about my life and, like, edit my book and do all of these things that I have to get done, and then have this heaviness in the background, and it's just been a lot. So anyways, that's an unfortunate update. Sorry that I don't have good news to the people who have been keeping up on him, and thank you for watching and supporting my channel. I appreciate all of you.